नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवाञ्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागन रघुनाथान्वितं तं जीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सागन ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। जयतां सुरतोपंगर मम मंदमतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्बुज राधा मदन दिव्याद वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रुमा श्रीमद रत्नांगर सिंहासन स्थितौ श्रीमद राधा श्रील गोविंद देवौ पृष्ठालिवि सेव्यमानं स्मरामि। श्रीमान रास रसारंभी वंशी भट तटस्थित दर्शन वेणुस्वनेर गोपीर गोपीनाथ श्रीअस्तु नः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर कृपासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। Now let us offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. नमो महापदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरवतिसे नमः। O most magnificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani and you are widely distributing the pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. कृष्ण बन्नं तिसा कृष्णं संगोपांगस्त्रपार्षदं यज्ञे संकीर्तन प्रायेरे यजन्ति सुमेधसा। In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Nana Shastra Vicharanake Nipunam Shadharma Sanstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manya Saranya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Anandena Bhattaliko Bandir Patanatana Ravujugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the divine couple Sri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskutya Naram Jayam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Nashta Prayesu Avadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Suke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. With this, let us start with today's class. In today's class and tomorrow, I'll give an introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam and also to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Last time we had spoken about Bhakta Maal, and more of Bhakta Maal we'll hear in the various stories from next weekend onwards. I have already given you the latest schedule. In this, the very first session of Bhakta Maal, I'll be describing about two devotees which are given in the Bhakta Maal book. You would not have heard about them. They are very, very great devotees of the Supreme Lord. That we'll see next weekend. Now, today we'll start with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, in the very beginning, we'll see the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami in Krishna Leelastava. Krishna Leelastava, that is written by Sanatana Goswami. It has got a total of 432 verses. Out of that, toward the last, there are 4 verses which describe about the glorified Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us see what he says. He says, Sarva Sastrabdhi Piyusa, Sarva Vedaika Satphala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya, Sarva Lokaika Drukpada, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalidvantaditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartate. What he is saying, O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures, if we describe the Vedic scriptures as the ocean, because it is so vast that we cannot even see from this end to the other end. And if you churn that, what comes out is Srimad Bhagavatam only. It is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. That means if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you do not have to read any other scripture at all. That is what is the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. You are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas and are enriched with the jewels of philosophical conclusions. All the philosophical conclusions which are there in the Vedic literature, they are also given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world and are the very life and breath of Vaishnava devotees, because this Bhagavatam is very, very dear to the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. Actually, you are Lord Krishna who has returned amongst us. What he is saying, that there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam. He is saying Lord Krishna has come as Srimad Bhagavatam in this Kali Yuga. Therefore, we should give very much importance to this Srimad Bhagavatam and study it and try to understand it. Paramananda Pathaya Prema Bhasya Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevaya Sri Krishna Aya Namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss because your syllables soar down pure love of God. Pure love of God is there in the complete Srimad Bhagavatam, and you are to be served by everyone always, for you are the incarnation of Lord Krishna. He is again saying that Srimad Bhagavatam is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. And this we have to remember. Then next, Mad Eko Bandhu Mad Sangin Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Madhirastaka Madbhagya Madananta Namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, my companion and my teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. Sadhu sadhu tadayin natini chochakavara kara ahanamuncha kadachin mam prema rut kanthaya spura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Accompanied by pure love of Krishna, please manifest yourself in my heart and throat. That's what Sanatana Goswami is praying to Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srimad Bhagavatam should manifest in his heart and his throat, so that he speaks about Srimad Bhagavatam to the devotees. Now, then we'll see the other points. In this, we'll see how Srimad Bhagavatam, how the 10th canto, they talk about Vrindavan Leela, Mathura Leela, and the Dwarka Leela, how Vyasadev compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, how Bhagavatam cantos are Lord Krishna's limbs, then the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Srimad Bhagavatam in a nutshell, very, very brief, in a paragraph or so of each canto. And then last time we were talking of the 4 sampradayas, because this will also come up in many of the discussions. Let us know all the sampradayas, their acharyas, and what are the philosophies. Then the sequence of pastimes of Krishna in Braja. Krishna, as you know, stayed in Braja for about 11 years. Then what was the sequence of various events? This we will see in very great detail over a period of time. Then SB, as Srimad Bhagavatam, is the most authentic narration. What is spoken about it in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the other literatures, how we can say that it is the greatest, how we can say that the Supreme Lord Krishna has appeared in this earth in the name of Srimad Bhagavatam, that means he has entered Srimad Bhagavatam. All these things we will discuss. And the commentators of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are what I'll be using the commentaries of 16 commentators, including Srila Prabhupada. I will not elaborate on Srila Prabhupada because I assume you have read Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Prabhupada. But we'll go through the verses and the translation of Srila Prabhupada, and then we will see what the other acharyas they say about that verse and what are the nuances. But please remember that more than one acharya may be saying the same thing. We will not repeat. If some acharya has said something which is being repeated, that will not be spoken by us. We will speak it once only, so that there is no repetition in that. Now, as you know, Krishna left the material world after staying for 125 years in the last Dwapar Yuga, rather at the end of Dwapar Yuga. And when Krishna left, then Kali entered this earth. Now, then thereafter, what happened? He entered the Srimad Bhagavatam. He has not gone anywhere. He has entered Srimad Bhagavatam. That means wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is there, Krishna is there. It has to be respected that way. And we'll be studying in very great detail about the 10th canto. 10th canto is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, because all the essential leelas, they are given in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you read the 10th canto, the first 4 chapters are what? The advent of Krishna, introduction, the prayers by the demigods, birth of Krishna, and atrocities of Kamsa. These 4 chapters. In this, Brahma's prayers for relief of the earth's burden, that is described. and also they describe the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Then chapter 5 gives, that is about Nandotsava. Then 5 to 35, these 35 chapters, they recount Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavana. Now, if you see, even the 4 chapters and the 5th chapters, rather 1 to 40, they are connected with Vrindavan. That means Vrindavan Leela, out of these 90 chapters in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vrindavan Leela is described in 40 chapters. Now, the 40th chapter describes how Krishna enjoyed the water pastimes in Yamuna and how Akrura offered prayers and all these. Then thereafter, chapters 41 to 51, the 11 chapters, they tell us about Krishna's pastimes in Mathura. And then the last 39 chapters, that is 52 to 90, they relate to Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. That means, in brief, what I said, the Vrindavana pastimes, 40 chapters, 11 chapters about the Mathura pastimes, and 39 chapters about Dwarka pastimes. This is how Srila Sukadeva Goswami describes in these 1990 chapters the various pastimes of Lord Krishna. And as we know, of all the sacred Vaishnava scriptures, this Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the topmost. And Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had said that Srimad Bhagavatam is spotless authority, pramanam amalam, amongst all the Vedic literature. And Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has declared that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the 5 most important forms of Bhakti Yoga. He has described the 64 angas of Bhakti Yoga. Out of them, at the end, he has described that 5 are most important. What are these 5? One, we spoke about Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And the other 4 are Mathura Vasa, Nama Sankirtana, Sadhu Sangha, and deity worship. These are the 5 which are most important. And the hearing or discussing about Srimad Bhagavatam or reading about Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is what is included in this. That means you just hear Srimad Bhagavatam or you are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that means you are doing bhakti. There is no doubt about it. Then we'll see how Vyasadeva, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, he initially he wrote all the other 17 Puranas, then Mahabharata. But at the end of the maturity of his knowledge, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. That was at the end only, not in the beginning. And as you know, Vyasadeva is is an incarnation of Vishnu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find Vyasadeva was the 19th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu has many, many incarnations, but out of them, 24 have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and out of that, 19th is Sri Vyasadeva. And Sri Vyasadeva's spiritual master was Narada Muni. Now, what happened? Narada Muni, he chastised Vyasadeva for compiling so many Vedic supplementary literatures, which are all intended for guiding the general people. Narada Muni condemned these scriptures because they do not mention direct devotional service. And under Narada Muni's instructions, direct worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, was set forth by Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva had written the Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda sections of the Vedas, but he had not written anything about the Upasana Kanda, that is about the Bhakti. Thus, his spiritual master Narad Muni, he chastised him and advised him to write about the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Now, as you know, Srimad Bhagavatam is that scriptures which gave complete satisfaction to its author, who was not satisfied with his earlier works, including various Puranas and Mahabharata. And all these Vedic literatures are compared to the desire fulfilling tree, the Kalpa Vriksha. And Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the ripened fruit of that desire tree, the essence of all scripture, that is Akhila Smriti Saram. Now, this Bhagavatam, it has got 12 cantos. 12 cantos, they are described to the various limbs of Sri Krishna. Let us see them in detail. As I have already spoken out, Srimad Bhagavatam is none different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference at all. Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the reason you should have a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam in your house. And you should see it. If not, you are reading, you should read it every day, at least a verse of it. If you are not able to read, just see it also. That will bring auspiciousness, because it is none different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is the book incarnation of Lord Krishna, where narration of pastimes of his various avatars, they are given. And Lord Krishna, after his appearance, has again returned in the form of this book, Sri Krishna Parivartita, to shed light on the misdirected civilization of Kali Yuga. And Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 cantos that represent the various limbs of Sri Krishna's transcendental body. Now let us know them in detail. The first and the second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are Krishna's lotus feet. Now, when you describe the Lord, you start with the feet and reach the face. Now, the first and second cantos, they are Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Now, the third and the fourth cantos are his thighs. Fifth canto is his navel. Sixth canto is his chest. The seventh and the eighth cantos are his arms. The ninth canto is his throat. The 10th canto is his beautiful lotus face. That means when we learn about the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are seeing the face of lotus face of Sri Krishna. The 11th canto is his forehead and 12th canto is his head. Then in Padma Purana it is said that I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like a tamala tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare of all human beings. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. Now, here in this Kali Yuga, the Bhagavatam has appeared as his, that is Krishna's very self. It is said in Padma Purana. That means there is no difference between Lord Krishna and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And since Srimad Bhagavatam is none different from Krishna, just as one takes darshana of the Krishna, deity of Krishna, gradually from his lotus feet to the lotus face, one has to study Srimad Bhagavatam step by step from the first canto to the last. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that the only qualification one needs to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step, cautiously, and not jump forward haphazardly as with an ordinary book. It should be gone through from chapter 1 afterwards, from canto 1 to up till the last canto. Now, you may be thinking, Then why we have started with the 10th canto? Because some time back we have already finished all the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam in very great detail. I think that time it took quite some time, more than a year or so. And now I wanted to emphasize on this 10th canto, which is described as the lotus face of Lord Vishnu. So, anybody who has not studied the complete Srimad Bhagavatam, they are requested to go through at least the gist of cantos 1 to 9, because we are starting with canto 10 and we'll be going very, very slowly. Very, very slowly means we'll go verse by verse, and in each verse we'll see those things which are not generally known by the very many people. The very, very important things we'll see that you will realize when we start. Now, another thing, as you know, this Srimad Bhagavatam only talks about 10 topics. Now, all the other Puranas, they do not talk about all the 10 topics. They describe some of them, but all the 10 topics, they are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. They are described in very great detail. Now, the verse in second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Atra sarva visargascha sthanam posanam utaya manvantar isanu katha nirodho bhaktir asraya. Now, they talk about sarga, visarga, sthanam, posanam, uti, manvantara, isanu katha, nirodha, mukti, and asraya. Now, let us know about these things in a slightly greater detail. What is meant by sarga? Sarga means universal creation by the Supreme Lord Krishna or Vishnu. We'll see that in a little more detail slightly later. Then Visarga means the secondary creation by Brahma. The primary creation is done by the Supreme Lord. The secondary creation is done by Brahma. Then Sthanam means positioning of living entities in various planetary systems. As you know, there are 14 planetary systems in the creation. Then Posanam, the Lord's protection for the devotees. Uti means inclination to act. Manvantara means the reign of the Manus. There are 14 Manus. And Isanukatha means the topics of the Lord's various incarnations and his devotees. Like we'll be talking about Bhakta Maal, but Srimad Bhagavatam is also Bhakta Maal, because it talks about the various devotees from first canto to the last. Then Nirodha. Nirodha means annihilation of the material universe. Mukti. Mukti means liberation. There are 4 types of liberation and all that. That is given. And Asraya means the supreme shelter of Lord Krishna. Now, let us know them in slightly greater detail. Since we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, this is a very, very important aspect. Now, we first talked about Sarga. Sarga means the elemental creation. Elemental creation by whom? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not directly, but by his incarnation, that is the Mahavishnu. The first creation by Vishnu, the bringing forth of the 5 gross material elements, the 5 objects of sense perception, and the 10 senses, the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego, and the total material energy or the universal form. This is how Sarga is described. Now, the elemental creation of the 16 principles of matter, and that is the 5 gross elements, the Panchabhuta, the 5 objects of the sense perception, that is the Tanmatra, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, Jnanendriyas, Indriyas, and the mind known as Sarga. Now the 5 gross elements, Panchabhuta, are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. the five objects of sensual perception, the tanmatras, they are sound, form, taste, smell, and touch. And the five knowledge acquiring senses, Jnanendriyas, are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And together with the mind, the 16 principles are created by the first Purusha incarnation, that is the Mahavishnu. And within these 16 principles, 8 other principles exist, certainly, making a total of 24 principles of material existence. In Bhagavatam, it is given in very, very great detail. Now, the second one is Visarga. We said the secondary creation done by Lord Brahma. Now, what Brahma does, Brahma produces the moving and unmoving bodies in the Brahmanda, that is the universe. And the creation, secondary creation by Brahma is carried out through the interaction of the 3 modes of material nature known as Visarga. Now, by manipulating the 16 original principles of material existence, and by interaction of the 3 modes of material nature, that is Sattva, Raja, and Tama, Lord Brahma carries out a subsequent creation, more properly described as an assembling of the universal ingredients. And that's how this universe comes into existence. Then Sthanam, or the planetary systems. Now, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, Vishnu's functions is more important, and his glory is greater than Brahma and Lord Shiva. For although Brahma is the creator and the Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. Now, how he is maintaining? The entire creation created by the Lord is to enable the conditioned souls to satisfy their material desire, to lord over the material energy. That's what they have been doing so far. And as such, according to their desires, the Lord creates a suitable situation, that is sthanam, for them to dwell in. Within the universe, these situations can be divided into 14 main categories, technically known as the bhuvanas or planetary systems, and 8.4 lakh subcategories known as the species of life. And from the topmost sthanam of Brahmaloka, the abode of Lord Brahma, down to the lowest sthanam, that is the Patal Loka, all situations are destructible. They will be destroyed one day or the other. And in every situation, the conditioned living entity is conquered by birth and death. Only by attaining to our eternal constitutional situation in the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha can we conquer the birth and death of this material world. Thus, the true sthanam of the living entity is the realm of Vaikuntha, and all other temporary situations within the material world cause one to become a victim of material suffering. Simply shifting one situation to the next is most important. Then comes next is Posanam. Posanam means protection by the Lord. Now, Posana is taking special care and protection of the devotees of the Lord. As a king maintains his kingdom and his subjects, but nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family. Thus, like the king only, the Supreme Personality of Godhead also gives special care to his devotees who are the souls completely surrendered to him. Now, Posanam can be defined in 2 ways according to the mentality of the living entity. For the conditioned souls, Posanam refers to material existence, material maintenance. It is the Lord who fulfills the desires of all living entities given in the Shastra. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidhatit Kaman. Now the Supreme Lord, Eternal Lord, is the supremely conscious among all the conscious living entities, and it is that supreme one among the many who fulfills the desires of all. And for the devotees, the Lord Osanam refers to Lord's boundless mercy and protection. And protection from hunger is the lowest form of protection, which the Lord offers to the conditioned living entities. And for the devotees, the Lord's protection is protection from illusion of Maya. Now the Lord gives the devotees the strength to always remember Him and engage in His devotional service, rather loving devotional service. Then the next is Utaya, or the creative impetus. Now the urge for creation or initiative power, that is the cause of all inventions according to the necessities of time, space and objects. Now the impetus for activity, Utaya, is the desire for fruitive work, that is karma. The conditioned souls forget that Lord is eternal protector and our maintainer, and thus an impetus for fruitive activity is manifested in the living entities for self-maintenance. Now the desire for fruitive activity is the driving force behind all work within the material world. Now the karma vasanas are the accumulated residue of our previous activities in our previous lifetimes. And every material activity we perform creates a residual impression. And that impression is carried within our consciousness life after life. The sum total of these impressions form our creative impetus for work. Now, the true impetus of the living entity should be to go back to Godhead, to the supreme abode of Vaikuntha or Golak Vrindavana, and activities performed in that direction from the right path of work. That we should understand. And then the next, in the sixth, we said about Manvantara, Avatara, the change of the Manuj. Now, the periods controlled by the Manus who teach regulative principles for living entities who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu as described in Manu Samhita, the guide way to such perfection. Now, Manu is the father of mankind. He is empowered to give the human race knowledge regarding self-realization. And Manu provides revealed scriptures to mankind which regulate their activities in a manner that will be for their eternal welfare. Now, when the living entities, they accept such a regulated path and follow them, the Lord provides them with all protection by which they may attain their constitutional situation in the spiritual world. Now, thus the desire to go back to Godhead and the regulated activities performed to achieve that goal form the proper path of action. Then now, next, Isanu Katha, or the signs of God. Now, the scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, His various incarnations on the earth and the activities of His devotees. Scriptures dealing with these subjects are essential for progressive human life. Now, the signs of God or Isanu Katha describes the various incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His different activities together with the activities of His great devotees. Now, the entire material creation is for the ultimate purpose of the living entity's salvation. And when the conditioned living entity utilizes the creation for secondary purpose, such as material productive activity, the Lord incarnates to reclaim these forgetful souls. Now, the Lord directly delivers living entities by His divine appearance as well as by His recorded history. Now, the Supreme Lord is so potent that simply by hearing about his transcendental activities in his various incarnations, one becomes free from material bondage. Thus, the topics of the Lord and his devotees constitute the signs of God should be given respectful oral reception. And this is what we are going to do in Bhakta Maal. We will be hearing about his very dear devotees. Then eighth is the Nirodha or dissolution, the winding up of all the energies employed in creation. Now, such potencies are emanations from the personality of Godhead who eternally lies in the Karana ocean. The cosmic creation manifestation with his breath are again dissolved in due course. Now, here what is happening? The merging of the living entity along with the conditioned living tendency with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu is called winding up of the cosmic manifestation or Nirodha. As we have briefly described earlier, the entire creation offers two facilities to the conditioned living entity. The living entity may either utilize it to fulfill his desire to lord it over, that is, the lord over the material nature, or they may utilize it to go back to Godhead, the spiritual abode. For the living entities who take advantage of the signs of God as propagated by the Manus, and who develop a desire to act in such a regulated manner, the Lord provides them full protection from the material energy and restitutes them in their proper situation in the spiritual world. Now, for the other living entities who choose to disregard the signs of God, the Lord gives them the interim period of relief at the time of dissolution. Now, this temporary period of relief is technically called Nirodha, or the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. And all these living entities, along with their conditional tendencies, that is the vasanas, they merge into the body of Mahavishnu to await another creation and another opportunity to take up the signs of God. Now, though the physical bodies are given up at the time, the subtle bodies, Sukshma Shariras, they remain with the living entities along with their latent desires. And this is indicated by the words Atmanam Sahasakti. Now, the next ninth thing is Mukti. Now, Mukti means liberation of the conditioned souls engaged by the gross and subtle covering of the body and mind. Now, when freed from the material affection, the soul, giving up the gross and subtle bodies, can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world eternally. Now, when the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord and become Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even while the material body is still there. Now, those living entities who develop a desire to act for the ultimate welfare regulate their life according to the instruction of the Manus. And such living entities, they receive the mercy and protection of the Lord and his divine activities and incarnation. And by hearing the narrations of the Lord's various pastimes, we get benefited. Now one becomes purified. And such purified living entities that develop their original spiritual bodies and are restituted in their constitutional position in the spiritual abode of the Lord. This is technically known as mukti or liberation. The various words that describe in the Vedas about this. Now, the final thing, what we are talking about, the 10 things, the 10th was Asraya, or the supreme shelter. Now, this is very, very important. Now, supreme shelter or Asraya is the transcendence. This is the summum bonum, from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. Now he is the source and the support of all. The Asraya is also called the Supreme Brahman. In Vedanta Sutra, it is said, Athoto Brahma Jigyasa Janmadi Yasya Yata, which is given in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially describes the Supreme Brahman as the Asraya. And Sri Krishna is the Asraya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. And this is very, very important. Now, the Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme source of everything, supreme source of cosmic manifestation, as well as it is the reservoir and winding up. Thus, he is the supreme shelter, the absolute truth. Now, the individual person possessing different instruments of senses is called Adhyatmic person, and the individual controlling deity of the senses is called Adi Daivik. Now, the embodiment seen on the eyeballs is called Adi Bhautik person. All three of these, which are mentioned, are the stages of different living entities are interdependent, and in the absence of the one, another is not understood. But the Supreme Being, who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter, is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter of everybody. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it begins with the Vedanta Sutra statement, Janmadi Yasyata, to bring to our attention the supreme source and shelter of all existence, the Asraya Tattva. And in order to explain the transcendence of Asraya, the other 9 subjects have been described in the Bhagavatam. Both the Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam, they begin with the same point of understanding the ultimate source of everything. And Sri Vyasadeva, the author of both the Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam, begins both with the same verse. It means I meditate upon I will not repeat Janmadi Yasyata Anvadita Rasta Chathas Abhigya Swarat. Tene Brahma Hrude Ya Adikavaya Muhyanti Yat Suraya Tejo Bhari Pradam Piyato Vinimaya Yatro Trisarga Mrisa Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastapukam Satyam Param Dhimaya. Now, to describe this verse, it will take many days. It cannot be done, but the very essence of this is I meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, because he is the absolute truth and the primordial cause of all causes in the entire creation. And he is also the means of sustenance and destruction on the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause behind him. And it is he only who imparted this Vedic knowledge to Brahma, the original living being, and by him even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations many a times, and only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifest by the reaction of the 3 modes of the material nature, Sattva, Raja, and Tama. I therefore meditate upon Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from illusory representations. Now, the Bhagavatam Purana, therefore, is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna at the end of the last Dwapara Yuga. He went to his abode accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. That's why this Bhagavad Mahapurana is so very important. With this introduction, let us have a 5 minutes break. And after 5 minutes, again, we'll carry on with the description of Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Hare Krishna. Welcome back. Now we'll begin from where we left. Now, as we have already said, the ultimate purpose of the first 9 topics is to help us understand the 10th topic, that is the Ashraya Tattva. The first 9, they deal with the Supreme Lord's various energies, expansions, His majesty and His greatness. And understanding them help us better appreciate His personal attributes and His various activities, leelas, with His dearest devotees, as described in the 10th canto. Now, without studying the first 9 topics, one might perceive the pastimes of Krishna in the 10th canto as ordinary. Now, I'll give something else. Okay. Okay, we'll again go through the Srimad Bhagavatam in a nutshell. Now, the first and the second cantos, they are considered the lotus feet of Krishna. Now they form a perfect prelude to the rest of Srimad Bhagavatam by introducing the reader to its key philosophical concepts and prominent characters. They also establish Lord Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, and Bhakti Yoga is the topmost spiritual path. In the first canto, Sutta Goswami describes to the Naimisaranya sages the history of Srimad Bhagavatam, the birth and activities of Parikshit Maharaj, who even chastised Kali Yoga, and the exclusive dependence of devotees like Uttara, the Pandavas, the Kunti, and Bhisma on Lord Krishna, and the Bhakta Vatsala Krishna's reciprocation with them. And in the second canto, Sukadeva Goswami describes the supremacy of Krishna Bhakti while representing various other processes of the Vedic landscape, like the demigod worship, meditation on the universal form, that is the Virat Rupa, the super soul Paramatma is part of, and all these things. And he also explains the Chatusloki Bhagavata, the 4 seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, and finally gives the definitions of the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is what has been described in cantos 1 and 2. Now, the third and fourth cantos, now they correspond to Lord Krishna's thighs and predominantly describe the topics of Sarga and Visarga through the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. The third canto also describes the time, family life, Sankhya, Bhakti Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and the various material worlds. And we further read the pastimes of Lord Varaha, the descriptions of Vaikuntha, the household life of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and the teachings of Lord Kapila there in the third canto. And what is given in the fourth canto? The fourth canto is very rich in its contents. It unveils inspiring and instructive stories of admired personalities like Lord Shiva, Suniti, Dhruva, Narada Muni, Anga, Pruthu, Pracheta, who all showed extraordinary examples of bhakti. One can also learn about the unfavorable attitudes in bhakti from the mistakes of characters like Daksha, Suruchi, Vena, Indra, and Prachinavari. We get to witness how the positive transformation undergone by many of these personalities, mainly due to the intervention of the devotees, sadhu sangha, adds to the glories of bhakti. Furthermore, the prayers of pure devotees like Dhruva, Pruthu, and the Prachetas, they uncover the depths of foremost aspirations of a devotee to hear Krishna Katha in association of other devotees. Then comes fifth canto. The fifth canto corresponds to the lotus navel of the Supreme Lord. In this canto, Sukadeva Goswami continues the topic of Visarga and describes the dynasty of Priyavrata, the other son of Manu. Priyavrata's dynasty consists of several notable personalities like Agnidra, Navi, Lord Rishabdev, and Bharata. Bharata in his three lives as a king, a deer, and a Brahmana. All these things they are described here. And all these episodes they culminate in glorification of bhakti. The later half of fifth canto discusses Sthanam, the positioning of the various planetary system within the structure of the universe for the inhabitation of various living entities. This canto concludes with a description of various hellish planets. The majority and the majesty and grandeur of the Lord's creation is unfathomable for an ordinary human. It is recommended that the one faithfully adhere to the teachings of the scriptures and pursue in the spiritual path. Now, about the sixth canto represents the chest of Krishna. It is primarily centered on the theme of Posanam, or protection offered by the Lord to his devotees, even if they sometimes transgress the laws of Dharma accidentally. The canto begins with the glorification of Lord's holy names through the episode of Ajamila. Later, Sukadeva Goswami resumes the topic of Visarga and describes the living entities generated through the 60 daughters of Daksha. As part of it, the offenses and struggles of Indra are described along with the glories of pure devotee Vritrasura. Then Vritrasura's previous life as King Chitraketu reveals the insubstantial nature of material relationships, compassion of a devotee in uplifting a struggling soul, the care needed in dealing with devotees, and the eagerness of the Lord to reclaim his devotees. Now this canto concludes with transformation of Diti and Indra by Bhakti. Now the seventh canto and the eighth canto, they represent the arms of the Supreme Lord. Now the seventh canto describes Uti, or inclination, which is also of two types, auspicious and inauspicious. The auspicious and inauspicious inclinations of the jivas, they lead them to perform pious and impious acts, which become the cause of their future happiness and distress in various births. The seventh canto represents two types of bhakti, Suddha Bhakti, or pure devotional service of Prahlada, for whom Lord Nrsingadeva appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu in the first 10 chapters. Then Mishra Bhakti, or mixed devotional service done by Varnasrama followers in the last 5 chapters in this canto, 7th canto. In Mishra Bhakti, bhakti is mixed with karma or jnana as a major or minor element. Now the eighth canto vividly presents the theme of Manvantara, or the reign of the Manus. Manus are the administrators of the universe appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 14 Manus who rule in one day of Brahma. One day of Brahma is known as Kalpa, and that spans over 1000 Chaturyugas. And Chaturyuga is the combination of the 4 yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. And now, thus, each Manu rules for about 71 Chaturyugas. In every Manvantara, there are 6 kinds of personalities who manage various functions of the universe. They are the Manus, the sons of Manu, the demigods, Indra, the 7 great sages, and the Manvantara avatar of the Lord. Now, in this canto, Sukadeva Goswami describes the 6 types of main persons in each of the 14 Manvantaras in the current day of Brahma, and elaborates selected pastimes of the Lord in some of the Manvantaras. Thus, we hear the episodes of Gajendra, the Samudra Manthan, Bali Maharaj, deliverance by Vamandev, and the pastimes of Matsya Avatara. In all these episodes, the Lord's protection aspect is vividly described. Now the ninth canto. Now, ninth canto represents the throat of Lord Krishna and predominantly describes Isanu Gatha or the topics of the Lord and his devotees. Now, this canto describes the stories of various devotees and the Lord's incarnations in the Sun dynasty and the Moon dynasty. Some prominent kings of the Sun dynasty are Sudunya, Ambarisha, Sagara, Ikshuka, Ramachandra, and all. And the Moon dynasty has kings like Pururava, Yajati, Yadu, etc. And Lord Krishna appeared in this dynasty. However, glorious, a dynasty may be it may be very, very glorious, but none of its kings or members forever they will enjoy opulence. Only the bhakti, with bhakti one has rendered with a sincere heart, one will uh, have it as an eternal asset and he will enjoy it. Now come to 10th canto. Now the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam represents the beautiful lotus face of Krishna and vividly describes the topic of Asraya or the supreme shelter of Krishna. And Sukadeva Goswami, he describes this longest 10th canto, which has got 90 chapters, the appearance and pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavana, Mathura, Dwarka, Hastinapur, and other places. And Krishna's unlimited transcendental attributes, his emerging reciprocations with the devotees, his compassionate nature, of deliverance of those who were inimical to him, are described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they constitute the most precious gift for the devotees who absorb themselves in Krishna's glories. Then the 11th canto corresponds to the forehead of Krishna and it predominantly describes the mukti or liberation. Now, this canto mainly deals with the subject matter of the disappearance of Lord Krishna and destruction of Yadu dynasty by the curse of the sages. It contains the highly philosophical conversation between King Nimi and the Nava Yogendra and Lord Krishna and Uddhava that enlighten us on deeper truths of this universe, various spiritual paths, and the supreme path of bhakti. Then the 12th canto corresponds to the head of Krishna and describes the topic of Nirodha or destruction. There are four types of destruction, namely Nitya Pralaya or constant deterioration of material objects that happen at every moment, Naimittika Pralaya or the destruction of planets at the end of Brahma's day, and then Prakritika Pralaya or destruction of universe at the end of Brahma's life, and Atyantika Pralaya or the final destruction of the conditioned soul's false ego that causes liberation. In front of these great destructions or changes, the small losses we experience in the material world, including death, are actually very, very insignificant. So with this, I want to end today's session. Now the balance of the things, that is the four sampradayas, the sequence of pastimes of Krishna in Braja, that Srimad Bhagavatam is the most authentic narration, and about the various commentators of Srimad Bhagavatam, 16 of them, that we will be describing tomorrow. So with this, I end today's session. If you have any comments or questions, you are most welcome. Hare Krishna, I unshare, stop sharing so that we can see each other.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, Prabhu, as always. Prabhu, I have a question that, this 18 Puranas, even before this Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva gave the 18 Puranas. So that time Srimad Bhagavatam also there. So after writing this 18 Puranas, then he met Narada Muni because of his contemplation. But that time, is that Bhagavatam was there? Is there a very short version was there? Is it described? How, Prabhu? Could you please elaborate on this one?
Okay. As I have already described, he wrote the Mahabharata and the 17 Puranas. Then this feeling came to him. He approached his spiritual master Narad Muni, and Narad Muni advised him to compile the various activities of Lord Krishna, and that's how Srimad Bhagavatam came in. That means all Srimad Bhagavatam came at the end, at the maturity of this his knowledge. That's what is being said. So that came at the end, not in the beginning or along with the 18 Puranas. Yes, it is one of the 18 Puranas, but the 17 Puranas and Mahabharata came first, then came Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. So, just I thought to clear this one. Yeah, that means before meeting Narada Muni, he wrote 17 Puranas and Mahabharata.
Yes.
Then he wrote the last 18 Puranas, that is Bhagavatam. Am I correct, Prabhu?
Yes, that is very correct.
Okay. And another one, just I came across one of someone forwarded me this video. It might be a silly question. Just I wanted to take out of my head, this Mahabharata, the Vaishampayana explained this to King Janamejaya. That Mahabharata we are reading. Am I correct, Prabhu?
There are two Mahabharatas.
Yeah.
When you read Brihat Bhagavatamrita, there it is given very clearly. Vaishampayana, his version, that is little different than the other version.
So another Mahabharata, I mean, basically, when the
I can't hear you, Prabhuji.
Can you hear me now, Prabhu?
I can't hear you now. Earlier you were audible.
Haribol?
Yeah.
Prabhu? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, bro. Sorry, bro. Probably some mistake. I mean, this Mahabharata, what the authentic version is, both are authentic version, but Vyasadeva writes this Mahabharata, that is another version, and Vaishampayana Mahabharata is another version. Am I correct, Prabhu?
Yes. Vaishampayana, yes, that is one, and that is also given in the Brihat Bhagavatamrita by the Sanatana Goswami.
Yes. Okay, Prabhu. And in this one, like in this Bhagavad Gita is a Shruti, and it is because it came in the Mahabharata, it is Shruti in Smriti, this Bhagavad Gita. So this Bhagavad Gita, someone sent that video. Hey, how, so many people are talking, so that is what I'm saying this one. Arjuna not said anything about the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, Krishna told to me this one. This only interpretation of the Sanjaya's interpretation, all these stuff, so many people are putting their head. So how we need to take this, such people, how we need to answer, Prabhu? Could you please elaborate if you have any? Hope you might be come across such questions earlier also. So this is Sanjay's interpretation. Arjuna never said that this told to me by Krishna. That is what the people started putting this.
Yeah, what actually had happened in the war of Mahabharata, this Bhagavad Gita, this was given by Krishna to Arjuna. But here in the Bhagavad Gita, we see Arjuna Vacha, Dhritarashtra Vacha like this, Bhagavan Vacha like this. But this was not given anywhere. When Vyasadeva compiled, he put all these things. That means all these things were there, and Vyasadeva, he put it into the proper format. And that's what we read today, which is given in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, from chapters 25 to 42.
Okay. Yes. This is the Vyasadeva writes, even Sanjay Uvacha is also there.
Yes,
If Sanjay is saying, then how can you say that Sanjay is saying this? How can he say himself? Okay. This sort of Vyasadeva interpretation is given in the Bhishma Parva in the Mahabharata.
What actually had happened when Vyasadeva, he wanted to give the Divya Chakshu to Dhritarashtra, he said, no, I do not want it. You give it to Sanjay. Now the war carried on for 9 or 10 days, and thereafter 9 days, on the 9th day, Sanjay started describing what was happening in the battlefield on these days, not from day one, but everything is given in Srimad Bhagavad Gita.
So you are saying that he has explained from the 9th day, is it, Prabhu? Not from the beginning.
Then what we read in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it is from the beginning, but it was seen by it was seen by Sanjay on the 9th day.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Good to know this one. Yeah. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other question or comment? We have got a lot of time.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanwas Pranam. Very, very wonderful class. So I had a question and few comments. First, I will share some comments. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So, I think you mentioned about the 10 topics which Bhagavatam covered. So one thing I remember that the most important topic, like you said, is the 10 topic Ashray. That is, the shelter is Lord Krishna. And the first 9 topics are there covered so that we can understand this 10 topic very formally, that the Ashray is, our Ashray is Lord Krishna. And that topic is distinct and separate from these 9, and the most important one was one of the lectures.
That what I said, 9 topics that support the 10th topic.
They support, and that's the most important. That's what. And I was trying to find, like, in one of the lectures there was a, like, catchy name, a short catchy name for each of the canto or each of the topics. So I'll try and search that again if I can find that. It will imprint, share it all. So that's one thing. And then second thing, continuing with the question which Raju Prabhuji asked, which is very interesting. If we read that Laghu Bhagavatamrita, where the Gopa Kumar, he travels to Brahmalok, and then all the Purana are there in the personality form, their personality. So isn't it probably that all these Purana already there eternally, right, in personality form? Ved Vyas is like giving a book form of all these Purana. Is that correct understanding, Prabhu?
Yeah, that's what I said. He wrote the 17 Purana. He wrote Srimad the Mahabharata, and thereafter at the end he ended Bhagavatam. That's how it became 18.
Yeah, but all these exist eternally. He various rewriting. Okay, yeah, understand. Thank you, Prabhu. And
you read,
finally,
yes, if you read Jiva Goswami's his Sat Sandarbha, the first Sandarbha, the Tattva Sandarbha, there he has made it very, very clear. All this Vedic literature, they contain 1 billion verses. 1 billion. But for this Kali Yuga, like you see, what we read, what we heard half an hour back, we cannot remember. Then how can we remember these 1 billion verses? It is impossible.
Correct.
That's why out of that, he selected 4 lakh verses and compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, and that is for us. That is for us to read and understand. And in the upper planetary systems, there are literatures of higher number of verses. There are actually 1 billion verses.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Guru. And lastly, you mentioned about Manu Samhita. Prabhuji, is it available? Like, have you ever read about this Manu Samhita? What do they teach? And the present Manu is Vivaswata Manu, right?
Yes.
So where does he stay? Where is his religion? Like, is it on this Prithvi Lok or in the Brahma Lok? Where do they stay, the Manus?
Where does Manu stays?
Yeah.
That I also do not
We'll
know.
have to find. So I think I was interested to know more. Where do we have this Manu Samhita available somewhere, and is it?
No, I have not read, but various portions we come to read here and there. But as a book, Manu Samhita, I have not seen. So far, I'll
Yeah.
find out. I'll find out
Okay.
if it
Okay.
exists.
I will also try to find. Yeah, that
Yes.
will be good to see. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Very, very wonderful revision.
Regarding the question, where does Lord Manu stays? I do not know, but I surmise he may be staying in the Swargaloka only.
Hmm. I mean, we know the first Manu, Swayambhu Manu, of course, had residence on earth. That we can read from Bhagavatam because the
Yes.
whole pralaya came, then they went up. But the current Manu and the other Manu, where do they stay, will be
Yes,
interesting to know.
like in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, it is given very, very clearly. These Manus in every Manvantara, they change. Then after that, what happens? That means one will think these 14 Manus plus many others. No, these 14 Manus again they continue. It is given clearly in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa
Oh,
Goswami.
okay. Okay. So the same set of 14 Manus they rotate
Yes,
throughout the Brahmanda.
it carries on one after the other. Yes, Archana Mataji, you want to ask something?
Great. Thank you.
Prabhu, I had read that Vaivashvata Manu stays in one of the Varshas. I'm not sure exactly which of the. I can find out and let you know because I had made one presentation on
Okay.
all the different Varshas. So in that I had, I remember Ramyaka Varsha or one of the Varshas, he lives in one of those.
Okay, okay, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Great. Would be good to know, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, I will refer to my notes and I will send the message.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandavat Pranam.
Yes,
Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhu. I just have one doubt. Bhagavad Gita was spoken before the war, Mahabharata and all that. So it starts with the Dhritarashtra Vacha.
At the beginning of the war, it was
So then how is Sanjaya starting that, and then after the 9th chapter only he starts, 9th day he starts, Prabhu?
No, their narration on the 9th day it started, but he described from the very beginning only. Because since he had the Divya Chakshu, the transcendental eyes, he could see. Anybody who has got the transcendental eyes, spiritual eyes, he can see the past, present, and future. That's what I mean. From the very first day only, he described, as given in the Bhagavad Gita, what happened.
Okay, Prabhu. Now I got it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Thank you for Prabhuji for so wonderful class. प्रभु जी एक मनु जो है वो सारे मनुष्यों को गाइड करते हैं कि हमें क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है कैसे जीना है ये मतलब रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन वो देते हैं प्रभु जी राइट प्रभु जी
Yes, he gives the rules and regulations which we are required to follow so that one day we'll be able to reach the spiritual world. The rules and regulations for the Manusya, that is for the human beings, they are given by Manu.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Any other question or comment?
Prabhuji, in Swargloka there is different Bhagavatam, na? You said it has got more verses.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and in lower planetary system there might not be Srimad Bhagavatam, na, Prabhuji?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But in the lower planetary systems, the devotees are still there. Devotees like the Bali Maharaj is still there.
Yeah, yeah.
Prabhu, just to adding this one, when you say Swargaloka, you mentioned when we are glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam, Swarge Swatyasya Kailase Vaikunte Nastrayangache Apapivantos. So that's what you said that was, na Prabhu. In that Swargaloka, there is no Srimad Bhagavatam. That is what you said when you are glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam in one of
Yeah,
the
we
sloka.
have heard, Prabhuji, we are lucky that we are on Earth planet. We have Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, yes, that is also correct. But what I mean to say, these Vedic literature, they exist there also. The Srimad Bhagavatam, as it is available here, it is not available anywhere else. But since we say Vedic literature, it contains all the verses. Actually, this Vedic literature, which was compiled by the Vyasadeva, he just selected the verses and put them into various books to explain in very simple language. That means he has not created anything, he has not written anything new. He just compiled it. That's why we say he is a compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he is compiler of the Vedic, that is the Purana, like this. But what you are saying, this is also correct. But
Thank you, Prabhu.
Vedic literature is there also. But in this form, it is not there. Okay, any other question or comments? If we do not have any other comments or questions, then before we end the class with the Nrsinga prayers, I have got one point. Like I have given a list of a lot of devotees whose biographies we want to hear, and there have been many volunteers. I have mentioned those names against them, and that is undergoing revision from time to time. If you want to take in 2 sessions or 1 session or any number of sessions, that is permitted. If you want a change in date due to some of your commitment, that also will adjust. There is no problem. But for the balance of the life history, that is Bhakta Maal Katha or the biographies, I'll request all of you to volunteer, and after seeing the content, if you feel 2 of them can be given in 1 session, please let me know so that we will adjust our schedule accordingly. There are some devotees whose biographies are very, very short. That's why 2 of them can be spoken in 1 day. Like in the next weekend, I'll be covering 2 things in 1 session. That is what I am planning. If you are also planning like that, please let me know so that we can adjust this. This is I am unable to change, and there is no issue on that. So I'll request the devotees to volunteer more. And there are some devotees who are not attending. Like earlier, we used to have strength of 18, 19, 20 or so. But now it has come down to about 10, 11 or so. So I'll request the devotees to remind them that our timings have changed. It is now 6 o'clock. Then another information I want to give you, the other day I spoke to Charu Prabhuji. He is all fine, hell and hearty, and he is working on his project That is the one is the PhD project, and the second one is the book, and the third one, the slides and all that. He's working on that, and he has promised me from anytime he finds time, he will attend our classes also. We'll be very, very grateful to have him in our classes to attend even for some time. So that is what it is. And since there are no questions, then we'll end today's class. We'll conclude today's class with the Nrsinga prayers. I'll request Sagar Prabhuji to do the needful, please.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obsession. All go to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasimhaye. Namaste Narasimhaye. Prahlad Ladahine. Prahlad Ladahine. Hiranyakasipur Bhaksar. Hiranyakasipur Bhaksar. Silatankar Nathale. Shilatankar Nathale. Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ito Yami, Ito Narsingha, Ito Yami, Ito Narsingha, by Narsingha, Viday Narsingha, by Narsingha, Viday Narsingha. Narasimhamadin Saranam Prapade. Narasimhamadin Saranam Prapade. Tavakala Kamala Bhare. Nakhadbhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipur Tanabringam. Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Tamakala Kamala Bhare. Nakhadbhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipur Tanubringam. Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, चारू प्रभु की जय, शरद प्रभु की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, ऑल assembled devotee की जय। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। शरद प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. So with this, we'll end today's class. And another request I have, if you want any of your friends to attend our classes, they are most welcome to attend, because we are not talking anything which is very, very confidential. That's why it is open to all. Let us have more attendance if we can. And with this, I thank all the devotees for attending the class. All glories to all the devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. So with this, we'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you, Shashi Prabhuji. One Dandat Pranam. Thank you. Wonderful
Thank you,
class.
Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji.